This next guy is the editor of the weekly newsletter that you get. Dennis Foley. He's also now the Vice President of Communications, as well as being my sweetheart. So please welcome Dennis. He's going to give us an insider look at Florida politics.
You know which thing is most important to me in all the things she said, right? Okay, so this is a new feature we're going to try. If you like it, let me know afterward. Or if you don't like it, let me know. Depending on what you say, we might do it again next time. I spend a lot of time reading news, as you might imagine, and preparing the buzz. And that's a habit that started with me in my teens and it proceeded to explode during my 43 years as a newspaper reporter and editor. One of the primary sources for news that I put in the buzz of Florida politics comes from Progress Florida, which is part of Florida Progress organization. I'm happy to say that today's keynote speaker is from DeSantis Watch, which is another project of Florida Progress. I will try not to step on his toes. Next slide, please. So my observation is, it takes a small mind to go after a company that's one of your largest, most important businesses in your state, because you don't want people to be able to say who they really are. My bet is that Disney has better lawyers. Next slide, please. That's a little hard to see. That's Maxwell Frost. The Sumter DEC Gala was terrific. And Maxwell showed up, rushed in to give a terrifically stirring, inspiring speech. And he is somebody to watch. He's our Generation Z congressman, the first one ever. He's 26 years old, from the Orlando area. The young woman next to him, I would like you to remember her name as well. Her name is Imani Lindsay. Imani is a high school student, a senior at Lake Weir High School. The club bought a table for the dinner and gave the tickets to our best volunteers, and we had one left over, and the Sumter DEC was looking for students who might be interested in hearing Maxwell Frost, and someone recommended Imani to them, so she came to the dinner. I was the one who fetched Maxwell from the parking lot and brought him to the table, so I was sitting with her. I spent quite a bit of time speaking with her. What she told me is that next year she's going to go to Florida A&M University to study political science, and that someday she wants to be your governor or your senator. So remember the name. Next slide, please. Can you see Nikki Freed there? Can you see the question? Next slide, please. So, Nikki Freed drove in the 4.5 hours from Tallahassee to the DEC Gala, spent her time in the reception area and talked to pretty much every individual person at every table, waited for Maxwell Frost to arrive, hugged him, and left, because she had to get back to Tallahassee for this. FTC chair files ethics complaint against Ron DeSantis for violating state ethics laws. This has to do, this has to do with spending done by the Friends of Ron DeSantis PAC to finance his book tour / soft launch of his presidential campaign, which is undeclared. So this is just one example of how Nikki, since she's become the leader of the party, every single day is hitting DeSantis. If you've seen some of the communication, some of the stories, that's because of the efforts of the FTP to be much more visible and directly taking on this guy. Next slide, please. So So the very next day, there was this demonstration in Tallahassee against the ridiculous 6-week abortion ban bill the legislature has passed and that DeSantis is likely to sign. The city officials decided, well, we don't want you demonstrating at the Capitol itself. So they changed their permit at the last minute and moved the location to City Hall. So Nikki and friends went over to City Hall, and their permit was to sit outside the City Hall area. What they didn't know was the city had recently decided the grounds outside of City Hall were a park. So at 8 o'clock, when the park closed, the police came in and said, we have a no camping ordinance, and you must leave now. They said, ha 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 ha, and 11 people were arrested, including Nikki and Lauren Book, who's the Democratic leader of the minority of the Senate. The message here is pretty clear on our t-shirt. One of the reasons we didn't do so well is we had terrible turnout statewide. While we were great, as usual, everywhere else was not so great. So we need to really focus on this. One of the reasons you have the vote by mail cards, the application forms, and why we keep pushing it is because the data tell us quite clearly that if you have a vote by mail ballot, you're far more likely to vote than if you say, well, I'll go to the polls. So yeah, if you want to go to the polls, because that's a ritual that's important to you, by all means. I suggest you get a vote by mail application anyway. You don't have to use it. If you decide you're going to go to the polls, or if something comes up, then you can file your ballot by mail and make sure your vote gets counted. Whatever you do not vote twice. We're not Republicans. So I found this little item very amusing. Tourists were just mobbing the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, Italy, right after this story went international. Many of them were American tourists who wanted to take selfies with Michelangelo. Next slide, please. Closer to home, an iconic author and a Key West resident had this to say, hey Ron, it's me, Judy. And she went after him for this ridiculous banning of her books in schools. Probably many of you in the crowd grew up and read many of these titles. It's just another part of the crazy insanity that is Florida politics right now, attacking the educational system at every level. Next slide, please. Oh, how did that get in there? Erica handled this quite well. Let's move on. Okay, so the Tennessee expulsion, Clarence Thomas of the billionaire, it just never stops with these folks. And there's just so much I could have gone on for hours, but I'm not going to. Idaho, Tennessee, Kansas, everything that's happened. If you want to know about the details on those, like Eric, I'll be over here afterward. You can talk to me there. Next. And again, just last night, yesterday, we added the slide this morning. Eric has explained that. Texas bad, Washington State good. We hope Washington State's idea prevails. Next slide, please. I always like to end on an upbeat note. So, as you obviously know, Judge Janet's election flips the Wisconsin Supreme Court from a 4-3 conservative-leaning court to a 4-3 liberal-leaning court. Why is this important? Well, Wisconsin obviously is a key battleground state in 2024, and with Republicans passing legislation that would take the power to say who won the election away from electors and voting officials and give it to the legislature, with voter suppression, with some of the worst gerrymandered districts in the nation, and with abortion also an issue. This is a really critical race, and Democrats are doing well in other states so far, defeating these conservative folks and putting progressives in the offices. We need to fight as hard as these people are in these other states to get more elected. And that's the way it is.